Amen. All right, let's turn to Galatians chapter number 6. Galatians chapter number 6. But Andy just mentioned to me June the 3rd is going to be their 30th wedding anniversary.
The 11th is, the 3rd is the point.
The 3rd. The 11th is the actual anniversary. But on the 3rd, that Sunday, immediately following the service, they're going to have a little party downstairs for their 30th wedding anniversary. They said you can bring checks, cash,
Amen.
gift cards. Shirley said, give everything to her. She'll divvy it out. She sees fit. All right. But y'all be sure to congratulate them. That's a feat nowadays. Amen. You don't see that or hear that much anymore. Galatians chapter number 6. If you get there, say amen. Amen. Glad to be here, say amen. Amen. If you wish he's at home napping, say amen. Is that my wife? No. She is pregnant, so we'll give her a pass. Galatians chapter number 6, verse number 2. The Bible says, bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. I'll read it one more time. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. That verse right there it's not a very long verse, but there's a lot in it. Amen. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill ye the law of Christ. How many of you it's your goal or your desire, if you will, I guess, to fulfill the law of Christ? Amen. It should be every one of us in here to want to follow Christ, to want to be more like Him, for Him to be pleased with us. So here telling us in verse number 2 of Galatians chapter 6, bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. A lot of times in our Christian life we get discouraged, get weighed down, the burdens of ministry, the burdens of everyday life, the burdens of day-to-day family situations, problems, children, family, marriage, you name it. We get burdened, don't we? At least I do. I know I'm not the only one, right? Amen. It seems like every time we turn on the television, there's something else going on, or somebody else has went off the deep end, or lost their mind and went crazy at some school, or gas station, or grocery store, church, something. People get depressed. People get discouraged. They fall into, nowadays there is a lot of depression, and there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear. Nowadays, I think it's just because of we're faced with so many trials today. We're faced with so many different aspects of life today. We just turn around and there's all these different areas that we have to worry about nowadays, is there not? Me and my wife was just talking the other day about how much we spend on cell phones. I mean, just a cell phone. Okay, something you just call somebody. I told her, I said, I'm about 5 minutes away from getting a house phone with a landline and having me a little flip phone. Amen. Amen. Y'all remember what a flip phone is? Amen. I'm about to go back to those days. Brother Jim still got one in his pocket. Amen. You let me know where we can still get them. I might go try to find me one. Some people don't even know what a house phone is. You know, it's true, some kids nowadays will grow up and never see a house phone. Right. Will never even use one. And it's like in my generation, the payphone was going out whenever I was growing up. But now it's the house phone. There's so many things in our life that we put into our life. There's so many things, so many extras, I believe, so many extracurricular things. There's so many things that we feel like we have to accomplish in one day. When it used to be just a hard day's work was enough. But now we have to fit in everything else, and we have to add to, and we have to try to accomplish this, and we have to try to add this into it. We have to try to do this and get this done, and we got to make sure we get this, and we got to make sure this person's happy, and make sure that person's happy. And every day we add to, and we add to. And let me tell you something, church. We are just human beings.
That's right.
Amen. There's only 24 hours in the day.
Amen.
I wish there was about 30. But there's only 24 hours in a day. And it doesn't matter how much you try to accomplish, man. Sometimes you just have to say, all right, well, I'll get it tomorrow. But man, we can't do it. Can we? We got to work and work and work. And man, sometimes, unfortunately, our family gets the brunt of that. They feel neglected, or sometimes our children get neglected, or our spouse gets neglected because we feel like we have to please our job, or we feel like we have to please everybody else around us. We get burdened. And sometimes those burdens leads to depression. And man, depression leads to many, many things. And nowadays, a lot of times depression, doctors are trying to treat it with medications, and some people try to self-medicate, whether it be alcohol or whatever the case may be. They get hooked on these different kinds of antidepressants or other areas of their life where they, and now listen, I'm all for the medical field. I think God gave wonderful gifts to people, and we ought to take full advantage. But the key to happiness, folks, is right here.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine, a preacher, was preaching all over this country. All over the country. I mean, I'm not talking about I'm talking about it like Hiles Anderson College and First Baptist Hammond, preaching in these places. Just a few years older than me. Good friend of mine. And he got hooked on some antidepressants. Had a wonderful family, beautiful wife, 2 beautiful little girls. Just a great family. Man, had everything going for him. As a young preacher, looking at him, just like, man, he's living the dream. One day, just disappears. Falls off the deep end. Gone. Don't know where he's at. Got hooked on those antidepressants and called a bunch of preachers while he was, just in this crazy state of mind, and ruined his testimony. I tried to get some help, and preachers around, we tried to give him some help, tried to reach out to him, tried to call him, tried to encourage him. Left his family, left his wife and those 2 girls. Burdens. I don't condone what he did, but on the other hand, I want to say, man, did we do everything we could have done? It's easy to point a finger at him and say, well, man, you shouldn't have done this, you shouldn't have done that, man. But who knows what was going through his mind, folks? Y'all get what I'm saying? It's easy to point a finger at somebody that's maybe hooked on alcohol and just say, well, you're nothing but a drunk. You need to get right with God.
Come on, brother.
But we don't know what's going through their mind.
Right.
We don't know why they feel like they have to indulge in that lifestyle every day.
Yeah.
Maybe it's drugs, or maybe whatever the case may be. We can point the finger all day long, but what are we doing to help? Listen, we don't know what's going through their mind, the burdens and the things that they're dealing with in their mind. We don't know what's going on. We're just on the outside looking in. But we have to understand that the Lord tells us in Galatians that if we want to fulfill His law, if we want to please Him, we are to bear ye one another's burdens.
Amen.
And that's more than just, man, I'm praying for you, bud.
Right.
The Bible says we are to bear their burdens. That means take hold and carry, help them carry whatever it is they're carrying. That means to get underneath of whatever it is they're carrying. Get out beside whatever it is and help them pull, help them push, help them pick it up, help them carry it. Whatever it is, bear ye one another's burdens. Oh, he's just a drunk. She's just hooked on pain pills. Oh, she gossips on everybody. He does this or he does that. Why can't we just try to help? I know this is simple. Why can't we bear one another's burdens, Brother Andrew? I don't have the answer. I don't know if it's pride. I don't know if it's just the fact that we just don't care. We're just so busy with our own stuff. I think that's probably the answer. Because we've developed into a society that it's me, me, me.
That's right.
Yeah. We've developed ourselves into a society that has zero compassion for those around us.
Come on, Lord.
We've developed into a society that all it is about us. Facebook, Instagram, it's all about me, me, me. Taking selfies, posting them. Look at me, I just woke up. Here's what I'm having for breakfast. Here's what I'm having for lunch. Look at me, I'm walking. Look at me, I'm exercising. Look at me, I'm driving. Look at me, I just got home. About to get in the shower. Here's my dog. About to take a nap. Going to bed. Here's what I'm watching on TV. It's about us. I'm guilty. I don't know if I go that far. Especially the exercising. Y'all was thinking it, wasn't you? Y'all laughed a little too hard when I said that. Believe it or not, I do go to the gym every now and then. I just don't post it. Snapchat. I don't even know what that is, but I've tried to see people use it. It's literally just a picture of you that you send to somebody, and then it disappears. Me either. I don't know either. Folks use it, even grown folks. I don't have that much time. I'm sorry. But we've developed into that society. Why do we find it so easy to criticize others who become discouraged in their ministry and their life, rather than come alongside and lifting their burdens? There's something about discouragement and depression among pastors and among church folks and among Sunday school teachers and just regular laymen in the church that makes it easier to critique than to jump in and help. It's interesting how people judge when another fellow church member or Christian is going through a hard and stressful time. Accusations. Ain't that right? Accusations.
Amen.
That they were working in the flesh or they're falling out with God. You know, a preacher falls, pastor falls, a Sunday school teacher. Well, there must have been something going on. The preacher gets tired, gets weary, gets weak in the ministry from dealing with the hell that we have to deal with on a daily basis, and sometimes just gets tired, gets weary, Well, there must be something going on. I've seen it happen, folks. Preacher need to take a step back and take some time off, and because his family's being neglected or because his family's falling, well, he must be having an affair. He must be embezzling money. Something must be going on. I bet he's a drunk. When we can't just step up beside him and say, hey, I'd like to help you, preacher. I'd like to stand with you. Tell me what I can do to help you. Tell me what I can do to encourage you. What can I do for you? What can I... And I'm not going to take no for an answer. Amen. I'm here with you. What do you need? Amen. It's not always just the most wicked thing all of a sudden when a preacher falls or a church member falls. It's not always sin, folks. It could just be that they're burdened down to the point that they don't feel like they can make it another mile. He don't want to teach Sunday school. Maybe he's probably compromised. He's going the other way. No, maybe he's just tired. Maybe he's tired of giving and giving and giving and giving and giving with no response. Maybe she's tired of singing and singing and singing and singing and singing with no movement.
Right.
Man, when we were at Harvest, it was tough on both of us. It was hard. Man, we would get up there on Sunday mornings. It seemed like just me and her. And man, we'd come out of my office ready to charge hell with a water pistol and wouldn't even make it to the front door. We'd get up there, man, we'd get to singing, just me and her, me and Mama. They'd sit there and look at you. I'm like, is this real? Are y'all breathing? Do I need to call somebody? But I'll never forget, a preacher friend of mine called me, Brother Clark Herring. Pastor's out there. We went to sing at his church. Pastor's out there. What's it? Huh? Eat. It's a Grace Baptist church. And he said, man, I'm dabbling in evangelism. The Lord's opening doors for me. I'd like to come just help you. Sunday. I said, you know what? Come on. Any other preacher, I wouldn't have done it. Somebody called. I never had anybody come preach for me that called and asked to preach. But I told him, I said, you know what? Please do. I said, tell your wife to be ready to sing. And on the one hand, Brother Mike, I thought, man, I thought about just telling him no, because I know what I've been dealing with the past 6 months trying to preach and minister. I didn't want them to get up there and be like, man, this is dead as I have. You know, his first few weeks in evangelism, I'm going to break him in right. But man, my wife and his wife got up and they were singing. And man, it broke. Holy Ghost fell. Best service we had, I think. One of the best. Altars, man, they just started coming to the altar. Amen. I didn't know that they knew how to even use the altar. They started coming. Miss Lois, y'all don't know her. One of the godliest women on this planet still calls me her pastor. Amen. She doesn't go to church anymore. She can't even see. But she knew. And that Sunday she grabbed my hand. She She said, Brother Jesse, I just want you to know that you're my pastor. Nobody else there had done that for me. Nobody else there had ever called me pastor or nothing like that. But she took my hand. She said, I want you to know I consider you my pastor. And any which way you lead us, I'm going to follow.
Amen.
And she did. All the way up until I left, man, she was right behind me. And she'd be here tonight. Listen to me. She'd be here tonight if she could get here. If she just wasn't sick. To this day, she's the only church member I ever had. That I personally, she was my church member. And she stood with me. We'd have, listen to me, I'm getting somewhere. We'd have business meetings, and it seemed like everybody and their brothers against me. She'd be right there fighting for me. Everybody, no, that's a bad idea. She'd be like, no, I think we need to follow the pastor.
Amen.
Well, I think we need to do this. She'd be like, what's the preacher say? She was with me. She knew. Listen, she'll never know what it meant for her to bear my burdens with me. When I went to resign, I went to her house and told her first. She's like, whatever we need to do, Pastor. Some things I think we can do quickly if you're taking notes. I'm just going to give them to you and we'll be done. Number one, 5 things that we can do to bear one another's burdens. Number one, give grace. Give grace. You may not know the full story or ramifications of what someone is going through. All too often we set opinions based on a quick snapshot from social media or other limited frame of reference. Why not instead simply just assume that there's more to the situation?
Amen.
Why not? Why not just go ahead and say, well, there's probably more to it. Let's just give them some grace.
Amen.
Well, he fell or she fell or she's going through this. Or did you hear what she said? Well, let's hold on a minute and let's just go ahead and assume there's more to the situation than what we just saw or just heard.
Amen.
What's it going to hurt? What's it going to hurt, church, to just go ahead and say, well, maybe he was just having a bad day. Sometimes, I need to get this. Listen, this is helping me. Sometimes it's hard to get up and teach or preach. And man, it looks like folks will just give out on you.
Right.
Brother Mike came to me this morning, hit me with that cane. He said, we're with you. He said, I want you to know that. We're with you.
Amen.
I don't know if that's because I said I was going to sit in his lap. But he said, we're with you. Might not have meant much to him at the time. It meant something to me.
Amen.
Because sometimes when you preach, folks, and sometimes you'll see this, y'all singing in the choir,
Right.
you'll see that sometimes it looks like you're at a funeral. I'm sorry. It's like, man, is anybody happy about anything? Think about those good thoughts, please.
That's right.
And sometimes you preach or you teach or you sing, and it feels like there ain't nobody listening. I need to get this. Listen to me. Maybe I just need to think, maybe people are just wore out. Because I'm sure, believe it or not, I'm sure that sometimes when I'm out there that I don't look like the happiest person either. Amen. I don't look like it most of the time anyway. Miss Cannon and Miss Tiffany, they're like, what's he mad about? Why is he so angry? I'm not mad, I'm not angry, I just don't look happy. I've never known somebody just to walk around and just smile all the time. Just, that's always been goofy to me. I'll smile when I need to smile or something's funny, amen. Some people just walk around smiling. I'm like, yeah, what's wrong with them? Nothing, maybe they're just smiling.
Amen.
They need help, yeah. Number 2, let me give you this verse real quick with that give grace. Charity, 1 Corinthians 13. Charity beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. I need to remember that. We need to be a church, we need to be a community, we need to be a generation, we need to be people of charity, people of grace.
Amen.
Amen. We don't have it no more. I'll be honest, we don't. We don't have grace, we don't have charity. We don't. Brother Matt McDaniel, some of y'all might know him, was preaching Little Kids Chapel one day at the school, elementary school chapel. And he came and got me, I was a senior. And he said, I need you to help me with the illustration. Can you, he asked my teacher, he said, can I borrow him? I was like, yeah, I can get out of class. Yeah, I'll help you. And he's like, I want to show you, I want to demonstrate to them grace. I was like, yeah, man, sure. And one kid had actually gotten in trouble that day. And they still paddle at that school. And he brought that boy up and he talked to him, not loud in front of everybody, just talked. He said, you deserve, you get a paddling for what you did. I said, yes, sir. And he thought he was going to get paddled right there in front of everybody. And he said, Brother Jesse, come up here. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. What can I help you with? He said, bend over that chair. I was like, he's kidding. But he wasn't. He set that boy down. He said, he's going to take your paddle. And he paddled for real. And man, them kids, they got grace. I wasn't too happy with it. I was like, man, and it kind of hit me. I was like, wow. I'll take that whooping for that little boy. You want to see him get paddled. Probably deserved it. I think it was his boy. Micah does deserve a good boy. No, he's a good boy. Grace. Give grace, folks. Give grace. And then secondly, pray. Give grace, pray. Pray for that person. Genuinely spend time interceding on their behalf. You may not know the full scope of what they're going through, but the Lord does. Ask the Lord to uphold and help them and give you an opportunity to be a minister of His grace unto them. Colossians 4:12, Epaphras, who is one of you, a servant of Christ, saluteth you, always laboring fervently for you in prayer, that you may stand perfect and complete in all the will of God. Pray for that person. Listen, if we invest time into that person through prayer, you're going to have more. You're going to have more in their situation. Y'all get what I'm saying? If you drive a car you ain't never paid for, you're going to drive it like you stole it. You know what I'm saying? Or if you go rent a car and you just run it. I mean, that's what, you drive it like it's a race car. Don't worry about no curbs. Don't worry about nothing. Just drive it. You pay that little $12 insurance. Y'all act like y'all don't know what I'm talking. Ain't nobody ever done that. Rent a car and just drive that thing like it don't belong to you. Get that little insurance plan, drive it. Y'all should try it sometime. It's fun. I lost y'all on that, didn't I? Y'all are like, what is he talking about? Because you ain't got nothing to, now if you pay a monthly note on this card, right? You don't let the kids in it with no drinks. Y'all spit that gum out before y'all get in my car. Take your shoes off. Huh? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Paying $600 a month on this vehicle? No. Put a blanket down. Put some newspaper down. Don't let them kids sit back here with them drinks, because you have something invested in it, right? You're invested. It's the same thing with people. If you've invested time and prayer into their life, you're going to be more concerned about the outcome of their burdens. Y'all still with me?
Amen.
Amen. Number 3, you got to reach out. Send a note of encouragement. Perhaps an email, a text message, phone call, something. Rather than talking about someone to others, talk to them about your care and your prayer. Ask them how you can best pray for them. Share a word of encouragement. Be a minister of grace with your words. Proverbs 12:25 says, heaviness in the heart of man maketh it stoop, but a good word maketh it glad. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. Ephesians 4:29. Reach out to them, folks. Be there for them. You see somebody going through something? Write them a letter. We don't do that anymore. Send them a text message. Call them. Stop by. Bring them something. You don't have to spend a ton of money on people to know that, for them to know that you care. Sometimes the simplest thing, the simplest text message from someone that you normally don't get one from, them just saying, praying for you.
Amen.
What can I help you with? What do you need? What can I do for you? Like these ladies doing these dinners for Miss Brenda and Miss Linda. Miss Linda and Miss Brenda. Y'all will probably never know what that means to them. Probably never know. What it means for you to just go by and give them a break. Because if you've ever had to deal with somebody that's sick, it gets discouraged. Talk about discouraging, man. That gets discouraging. To have to, man, they're stuck in these houses every day, 24 hours a day. And when you watch somebody that's sick and hurting, man, that's a discouragement, man. It'd be easy to fall into depression yourself because you feel like, man, is this all I'm good for? Miss Brenda, I'm sure she would love to just come and be a part of a church service, but she can't. She's tired. We went by there yesterday, and then poor Miss Brenda was asleep on the couch. I felt so bad. But y'all know Brother Ed, bull in a china shop coming through the door, knocking stuff over. I said, they're fine. Just let them sleep, man. They just look wore out. Preacher brought them some lunch. Brought them some green beans. Brought Miss Winnie some soup. She wanted some soup. But I sat and talked to Miss Brenda for a minute, and she just looks tired. wore out. I'm sure Miss Lynn's the same way. And there's others. There's others. Find somebody. Maybe there's nobody directly in your path right now. Find somebody. There was my father-in-law. He's not the best at these things. It's funny. I mean, he's not. He's just, you know. You just got to know. Yes, just put it like that. But there's this fella at their church. He had cancer. Right? He was sick. He was bad sick. But the guy before he got sick loved to work. And he was always doing stuff. My father-in-law works for himself. He does construction and grading and stuff. And this guy just, he was sick, couldn't do nothing. But my father-in-law would go pick him up and take him to his jobs. And my father-in-law, like I said, he's just not the best. But listen, he would go pick him up, and his wife would want to come. And my father-in-law, when he's on the job site, it's business. But he'd go pick them both up, and he'd find them a little something to do, just so they could feel like they're still alive. We were talking the other day, and he's since passed away, this man, and he said, my father-in-law said, man, I get so frustrated because his wife would come along and I just want to spend time with him, and just kind of, encourage him. He said, but man, he didn't know how sick he was. But he said, I'm glad that his wife came now. He said, because those were his last days. I think she knew it. I think he knew it. And he said all he wanted for him to feel like that he's still a hard worker. He can still accomplish something. Man, we'll never know. My father will never know what that meant to that man and that woman. For him to go pick them up every day and let him just work with them. Any little thing. Reach out to somebody. There's plenty of folks that need it. Offer physical presence. Last. I'm sorry. Give something tangible. Send a book. Send flowers. Send a card. Send something. Lastly, offer physical presence. There's something about being physically present with someone that means a lot that an email or a phone call can't do. Maybe you are within a driving distance or can stop by their church with a note or a gift. Maybe you can invite them to come to your couples or pastors' retreats or classes or Sunday school classes, wherever the case may be. God may use your presence to bring them comfort. 2 Corinthians 7:6 says, nevertheless, God that comforteth those that are cast down, comforted us by the coming of Titus. When someone is going through a difficult time, they need us to come be alongside and help lift their burdens rather than trying to figure out what's going on with it from 1,000 miles away. They are under stress because they're working. Maybe they're working in the flesh, through the flesh, whatever the case may be, or made poor previous decisions. Maybe they're just going through a hard time. You'll never know what just being there for somebody will do.
Amen.
When I was in Bible college, man, that was a tough time. It's just it's a weird time. I didn't really have parents to go home to anyways. I was just on my own. I hit 18 years old, graduated high school. I was, like y'all know, I was living with my aunt and uncle. And, you know, they wanted us to live there until we turned 30 years old. My uncle told me and my cousin, I'm not kidding you, he wasn't kidding. Both of us, our senior year, he said, I want y'all to fail. He said, what's it going to hurt? He said, y'all get to stay home another year, you can play ball, you'll be bigger than everybody else, which we already were. He's like, man, you know the grades, just do it. Just fail. Stay home another year. They begged us. But when I graduated, I went to college, and it's my aunt and uncle, so I felt like I couldn't go home if something went wrong, which I could have, and if they knew I felt that way, they'd whoop me right now. But I had a best friend. He pastors in South Carolina. Listen, all I had was a little car, and I had nowhere to live. I left the college because it just wasn't working out for me. Nowhere to go. But I had a best friend, Brother Joe, preacher friend, Jacob Williams. And as long as we live on this earth, he'll never know what he meant to me. Because he called me, he said, man, you can't just drive around looking for somewhere to stay. He said, won't you come stay with us? Him and his mom. And listen, his mom, they're phenomenal people. She had just gotten married. She's like, well, we have extra room. And there was times I'd stay there at her house with Jacob wasn't even there. She's like, just lock up when you leave. Listen, I was discouraged, folks, and I was depressed. Had thoughts, listen, taking my own life. But man, this preacher friend was a real friend. He wouldn't leave me alone. He wouldn't. He stayed with me, helped me. And then another preacher friend of mine, Brother Danny Posey in Pickens, South Carolina, finally told me, he said, man, they had a house there at the church. The church owned a big, beautiful house. He said, won't you just stay there for a while until somebody needs it? So I stayed there. And got offered a job there, and I kind of thought, it was just, I'd never really even been here but one time for a revival. And I had been there to preach, and I was like, well, this is kind of weird. And I got offered a job, so I took it. And he came to me and he said, hey, we're about to have a revival. We got some preachers coming in. We're going to need the house. And I was like, great. I don't have anywhere to. He said, we've got a basement that's finished. He said, won't you just come stay? I was like, well, I thought a couple nights, I was there for 2 years. My car was tearing up, Brother Joe. It was a piece of junk, man. It was a Honda Civic. I don't know how I drove it anyway. It was one of them ones that didn't have no heat and air. When it rained, the window would fog up. You just have to park and just let it rain. One day after work, he called me and said, hey, I saw you at the red light today. Your car wouldn't start. It would just shut off, and you'd have to just keep cranking. I don't know what was wrong. He said, won't you meet me there at the Ford place? So I did. I pull up, there's this blue truck sitting there, brand new. Had 8 miles on it. He said, all you got to do is sign. He said, I ain't going to pay your payments, but I'm going to help you. He said, I've done co-sign. All you got to do is go in there and sign. This truck's yours. Listen, these folks saved my life. Brother Jim, they saved my life. Later became their youth pastor, assistant pastor. And God just led us away. But man, they begged us to stay and start their Christian school, which they started this year. But I consider that place my field of grace. Y'all have heard the song?
Yeah.
And my prayer since then, I'm almost done. My prayer since then is, Lord, let me be that for somebody. Let me just be that for somebody. Because when I moved in with them, man, it wasn't awkward, it wasn't weird, it was just I was a part of their family. I'd come home from work, and Miss Robin, she'd have all my clothes folded up on the bed. Sweetest lady, man, she's one of the sweetest ladies on this earth. I was a part of their family. It wasn't just I was staying with them, I was a part of their family. And I prayed since then, Lord, please let me just be there for somebody. Let my home, let me and my wife, let me and my children be a field of grace for somebody. Let me just be an encouragement to somebody. Let somebody be able to come to my house and say, I need some help. And them know that they can come to me or come to my wife and they can find help at my house. I've always said, man, if there's a kid that needs a place to live, come on. I want to be that for somebody. Because that's happened to me in my life twice already. That I've needed somewhere to be, somewhere to stay. Bo, get up, son. He's crawling underneath the pews. Man, I'm going to have my wife come to the piano real quick. Let's all stand.